Hello, everybody. Welcome to this edition of R&B Reviews. We're your usual hosts. I am Rob,
Brendan.
and today we're going to be talking about the movie The Men Who Stare at Goats. Now, in this film, Ewan McGregor plays a reporter who has just covered a story on a guy that claims that he has psychic powers and that he can have his mind leave his body and go, pretty much anywhere. Now, while trying to get into Iraq to try to cover the war, he comes across a character named Lynn Cassidy, played by George Clooney, and who was actually at one point a member of a top secret government organization called the New Earth Army. And what this top secret organization did was to train some soldiers to be sort of like psychic spies, or as they are called in the film, Jedi Knights, named after the Star Wars films. Clooney is in Iraq on a mission, and McGregor joins him, and they get into some interesting twists and turns here and there. So, Brendan, what are your thoughts on the movie?
Men Who Stare at Goats is just a flat out. It's a good ensemble comedy. It kind of lacks in the overall narrative. But really where the movie shines is watching how the New Earth Army is formed, as George Clooney's telling Ewan McGregor's character how he became a psychic spy, and how the whole organization was simply formed under a misunderstanding that the Russians thought we were using psychic soldiers. So now we actually had to start investigating psychic soldiers and be the first ones to actually have them. I thought that was a nice connection. Kind of reminded me like the moon landing and the space race of the 60s and stuff. And it was sort of like that Cold War mentality they brought back into it. But that was only for a second. I kind of felt that kind of stuck out there. I mean, it wasn't like an overall satire. I wasn't sure if it was like going towards like Dr. Strangelove areas, but overall, I thought it's funny, but it's not laugh out loud funny. It handles the Iraq War, I think, pretty well by not sticking it in your face or anything. There's some great sequences. The third act of the movie has a bit to do with what happens to the soldiers and stuff. I thought was pretty entertaining, but. The acting is it's great. Jeff Bridges, unfortunately, plays a character that echoes Jeff Lebowski from The Big Lebowski big time. And that I kind of thought was typecasting. But then again, who else are you going to get to play like the new age or army guy who's just a big hippie stoner? And why not Jeff Bridges? All the flashback scenes are great. The
flashback scenes I thought were actually much better than the sequences set in the present. I thought they were actually more entertaining than what we were supposed to be.
They were definitely a lot more entertaining, particularly when Jeff Bridges tries to get everyone to dance to just sort of help free their spirit and everything, like right off the bat, and all the guys are kind of stiffly moving around. And there's a nice little flashback showing George Clooney's character's father throwing a beer at him, telling him to stop dancing as a child. It's funny, but it's not laugh out loud funny. But it's one of those movies where it says it's based on a true story. I don't know how much of it is based on a true story.
Because in the opening credits it says inspired by a book, and unfortunately that could mean anything. Like maybe like a producer could just read the book and be like, I can make my own story out of this, and not really use it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Based on a true story and all that, it could mean anything now.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I will say about the movie, it does have a good cast. I thought Ian McGregor was okay. I thought with Kevin Spacey's character, that could have been, like you told me when we left the theater, that could have been played by anybody.
Yeah, he comes in like halfway through the movie, and they kind of set him up as like a bad guy. And it's like, why would you bring in the bad guy halfway through the movie? He only has a handful of scenes. He's really good in it. Kevin Spacey's a great actor, but like, it's like he was only in this movie, I think, almost as like a favor to George Clooney or something.
Yeah, and like you said, this movie, the tone I thought was very inconsistent throughout the whole movie. This is the director, Grant Heslov, this is his first feature film, and he's previously wrote scripts for George Clooney, and he's appeared in some of them like Leatherheads and Good Night and Good Luck. And I feel like with perhaps a more experienced director, things could have been a little bit more even out. Because if you look at another comedy film that we reviewed earlier, In the Loop, that movie has a consistent tone, and In the Loop was a bit more relatable than this movie, but the point is it was consistent.
That was a little more of a political satire, whereas this, they're dealing with psychic soldiers, and it's like, how can you really satirize that? I mean, they're really sort of making fun of like the United States government and them sort of buying into it and having to create an organization simply because someone already thinks they already have a psychic organization.
Yeah, I mean, this film had some good satire moments too. Like Robert Patrick's character he's like his security team. It's kind of like a satire of the security team that got in trouble in Iraq. And another good satirical moment is near the end where Ewan McGregor's writing the story and he's sending it to the news media.
Yeah, it makes a good comment on the news media that I think a lot of people, because a lot of people generally don't trust the news media these days, and, with good reason, I'd imagine. But
yeah, this film, I got some chuckles out of it, but to me it just felt like I didn't know what this was. Was this supposed to be a satire? Was this supposed to be, I don't know if, well, it could be considered a drama or just a comedy, but I mean, like, I felt like the tone was inconsistent. I felt like they weren't sure what they wanted with this film, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I think the subject matter definitely lends itself to more of a bizarre side. You kind of have to open your mind up to that. There's a lot of new ageism in there, and the foundation for the New Earth Army. I really like the New Earth Army. All that stuff is great. Like you said, the flashbacks are great, and I wanted to learn more about that. Like if they just made a straight story about how that was formed.
And you know what's funny? This movie is about an hour and a half, and this movie felt like it was much, much longer.
Yeah.
It dragged out in a lot of spots.
Like the midpoint of the movie is just like so slow, and it takes forever to get where it's going. And it's an hour and a half, so I don't know. It just seems like it took a lot of time to get to where it was going.
Yeah, I think it's because this is, like I said, this is the director's first feature film, and I felt like it's like he's not quite sure what he's trying to do. I think the script itself was very interesting, but it's just, like I said, it's just not focused. I mean, I would probably give this movie a rent it thing.
Let's say rent it. If you enjoy big ensemble comedies, this is definitely a good ensemble comedy. Unfocused, yes.
Yeah.
But it's a strong rental for me.
Yeah, and I could see people not getting into this movie, and some people really, really getting into it.
Wait until it's in the rental shelf or on the next Netflix queue. Just wait until then. No reason to rush out in the theaters and see this now, unless you're a diehard George Clooney fan or you like watching Jeff Bridges play a stoner new ager.
Oh, one more thing. What did you think of George Clooney playing a character like this? Like, do you think his comedies and dramas, he's done all that? So
George Clooney, I think he picks his projects a lot more carefully now than he did in the '90s. I mean, Batman and Robin. Awful film, but I like him more in comedies. I like George Clooney's more laugh out loud funny. I mean, he's just trying to be like Cary Grant and stuff, but George, he's good in this, but ultimately it kind of felt like, because it was his production company and all, that's why he was in it. I don't know if the role was necessarily tailored for him, but it fits his comic style, I guess.
Okay. All right, we're both giving this movie a rent it, and feel free to leave any comments about this video, or if you've seen the movie and you want to post your thoughts on it, that we greatly welcome it. And thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you later.